The job of the prosecutor is, number one, to prosecute crime. It's as simple as that.
It's a straightforward approach for the Republican candidate for Jackson County Prosecutor Tracy Chappell. She believes the current administration isn't doing enough to curb crime and punish criminals. Chappell has more than 20 years of courtroom experience after graduating from the UMKC School of Law. Right now, she's a criminal defense attorney, but has served as head prosecutor before for the city of Blue Springs, Missouri, and has worked for Jackson County as senior assistant county counselor. She has also run before, losing the prosecutor's race to Jean Peters Baker in 2020. Chappell tells me she's not happy with what she's seen these past 4 years. You've been practicing law for more than 2 decades now on both sides of the courtroom.
Yes.
You're back in the prosecutor's race. Why do you want this job?
I saw the direction that the Jackson County prosecutor was taking this county, and it was not a direction that left us safe or secure in our neighborhoods, our homes, or in our own person. I actually saw, as the head prosecutor for the city of Blue Springs, when the prosecutor did not prosecute, I was forced to prosecute felonies on a municipal court level. That lack of accountability in prosecution, it left us with a high rate of crime, a high rate of violent crime and property crimes. And so when I saw those things and I knew that nothing was going to be done, I felt that with my experience, my knowledge, and my expertise, it was time to step in to make Jackson County safe in every single zip code.
We're talking about Jean Peters Baker, who's the current prosecutor. She has pushed back on this notion that her office isn't prosecuting the cases, saying she's not getting nearly enough of the cases, only a fraction make it to the office. What do you say to her?
I totally disagree. The policies that she set in place and the way that police officers have gone to investigate cases and turn those investigations over to the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office. When they do their job, there's been pushback against them to say that from the prosecutor's office that we are not going to prosecute these cases. And when I would ask my police officers who I trained, why do we have these cases here that are clearly felonies, they would time and time again tell me that Jean Peters Baker has refused to prosecute these cases. And it wasn't just in Blue Spring, it's in every policing jurisdiction in Jackson County. The municipal court prosecutors are having to prosecute felonies as if they're municipal court cases.
So how do you break up that logjam then?
So as the next Jackson County prosecutor, in my first 90 days, I'm going to actually meet with every municipal court prosecutor in Jackson County to let them know that you no longer have to do my job as a state prosecutor. I'm going to do my own job, and I need you to do your job. And so by having continued contact with the municipal court prosecutors and the police departments, because they also need to know that I'm going to actually prosecute these cases, then everyone is going to be in their own sandbox. And they're going to have the knowledge that Tracy's doing her job, and now we can actually do ours.
You've been out in the community, so is your opponent, listening to voters and their concerns. What's the top concern that you're hearing from those voters, and what's your top concern?
The top concern that I'm hearing from voters at this point is property crime. In Brookside, in Waldo, in Ward Parkway area, they're experiencing property crimes like they never have before. They are terrified. And when you had Chef Sean Brady be murdered outside of his establishment for someone trying to steal a car, I mean, that was a wake-up call even more to what's going on. And now you have business owners asking, where do we go from here? How do we get to the point where we can ensure that we're going to be safe from these individuals that are perpetrating these types of crimes? People have a notion, and when I say people, I mean criminal defendants. Like you said before, I've both prosecuted and I'm a criminal defense attorney. When they themselves have the notion in Jackson County that nothing's going to be done about their criminal activity, that means that they're going to continue to perpetrate those actions. And when they do that, we are all less safe. But I am here to tell you, as your next Jackson County prosecutor, I have to actually prosecute cases. Prosecution doesn't always mean you're going to go to prison and there's going to be mass incarceration, but it absolutely means that I am making you accountable for your actions.
Incarceration as a tool, as a deterrent, do you subscribe to that, or are there other options you're willing to consider?
There are other options to consider. Right now, we have diversion courts that deal with veteran issues, DWIs. You're also dealing with DV courts, mental health courts, and drug courts. So that's an option if individuals fall in those categories. If they do not, then you also have probation that's an option. But if those two suggestions or recommendations do not fit the scenario, and it's a heinous crime, then that individual needs to go sit down. And when I say sit down, I mean they need to go to prison.
Does that mean trying older teens who are still technically juveniles as adults in some of these more violent cases?
Absolutely. And the way that works, I like to educate people a little bit. When we talk about these teens, 17 and under, you're finding that they fall in the category of family court. And when the attorney for the juvenile officer decides that this person's actions are heinous enough to be prosecuted as an adult, they generally get with the Jackson County prosecutor and they ask the question, will you prosecute this case if we certify this individual as an adult? And the prosecutor makes the decision, yes or no. And so lately, you've had a lot of circumstances where the Jackson County prosecutor has said, I am not prosecuting this 14-year-old or this 15-year-old. We're not going to do it. So that literally ties the hands of the attorney for the juvenile officer. But under my direction and my leadership, when the attorney for the juvenile officer decides to certify that individual, I am going to follow through and actually charge them as an adult.
Let's talk about the other side of the coin and nonviolent offenses. Jean Peters Baker has pushed back on nonviolent drug offenses, saying, I'm not going to prosecute those. Your opponent wants to continue that policy in part by refusing to prosecute nonviolent, lower level possession cases, she said. What's your plan?
You absolutely have to prosecute those cases. And once again, when I say prosecution, I'm not saying you're being incarcerated.
Sure.
These people are dealing with meth, fentanyl, heroin, wet, PCP, and other strongly addictive drugs. And when you deal with people who have addictive personality and they can't get their hands on those drugs, now they're moving to, I'm going to start stealing. Now you have the increase in property crimes and violent crimes, as we saw in Brookside. And when you have that happening, even though it starts off low level, it creeps up. And it sneaks up on you. And so you have to deal with it early and often. And what that looks like, what I like to see is putting them in drug court so that they can go ahead and get help and services for their addictive personalities or the addictive drug. But if they can't do that and become productive citizens in our society, then we have to do something stronger with them. But you have to deal with the problem, because when you don't and you have a one-size-fits-all blanket policy of how you deal with drugs, what you don't prosecute or deal with or make a person accountable for, it just increases.